Hi there, welcome back to my lesson. I know that you're all bored, but we should be patient. By the way, I really miss you guys, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. Anyway, today I'm teaching you the grammar structure of Unit 9. What was the name of Unit 9? Modern Heroes and Heroines. In this unit, I'm going to teach you second conditional as a grammar structure, okay? And let's get started with the lesson. Firstly, we should answer these two questions. The first one is, what is a conditional? Something that is conditional will only happen if something else happens. A conditional clause usually begins with if and says what must happen or exist in order for the information in the main part of the sentence to be true. Okay? Now, the second question is, what is a second conditional? It is often called as unreal conditional because it is used for unreal, impossible, or improbable situations. This conditional provides an imaginary result for a given situation. It is very unlikely that the conditional will be fulfilled. Conditional sentences or type 2 sentences refer to an action in the present that could happen if the present situation were different. We shouldn't really expect the situation to change because it is very unlikely. So, how do we form the second conditional? This is the grammar structure of second conditional. If plus simple past plus word plus base verb or infinitive verb. The second conditional uses a past simple verb in the if clause, then would followed by a base verb or infinitive verb in the main clause or result clause. Let's look at this example. If I were the president, I would reduce the taxes. In this sentence, the if clause is with simple past and the main clause is with would plus base form or infinitive form of the verb, okay? Now, here is the question. When can you use the second conditional, or in which situations should you use the second conditional or unreal conditional? We use second conditional in a few ways. We use it to imagine that our life or someone's life is different, to ask hypothetical questions, or to give advice, or we use second conditional to give reasons why you can't do something. Let's get started with the first one. To imagine life is different. We use second or unreal conditionals to predict the results of unlikely future events, to talk about the things in the future that are unlikely or things that are impossible in the present, that are impossible now. Let's have a look at these examples. If she lived in London, she would have English friends. Does she really live in London? No. So, does she really have friends? Actually, no. And look at the main clause. This is our main clause. The result clause or the main clause suggests what would be different or would tell us that we are imagining the results, okay? She's not living in London, but let's imagine if she lived in London, okay? If I won the lottery, I would go on a world trip. I didn't win the lottery. As a matter of fact, it is unlikely to win the lottery. But let's imagine the impossible results, okay? If my grandmother were still alive, she would be 150 years old. Is she alive now? No, she's not alive. Actually, it is impossible for her to be alive now. But let's imagine the possible results. If I were the president of my country, I would reduce the taxes. In fact, I am not the president of my country, and it is unlikely for me, or it is impossible for me to be the president of my country now. But let's imagine if I were the president, what would I do? I would definitely reduce the taxes. Okay, we use unreal conditional to ask hypothetical questions. We can also use second conditional to ask someone to imagine what they would do in a different situation. Or we use hypothetical questions, we ask hypothetical questions to make plan B. Let's have a look at the examples. There are a few examples here. What would you do if you quit your job? You have got a job, right? But what would you do if you quit your job? If you won $1 million, would you buy a big house? You don't have any dollar actually, but if you won $1 million, would you buy a big house or an expensive car? What would you do if you had more free time? I know that you all complain about having no time at all. You don't have any time. But what would you do if you had more free time, more spare time? Another subject that we use second conditional is giving advice. When someone asks you for advice, you usually try to imagine what you would do in that situation and share that situation with those people. Or sometimes you suggest some improvements. Okay, the first example. If I were you, I would talk to my boss before I quit my job. In this sentence, actually, I'm giving you an advice. You shouldn't quit your job. If you want to quit your job, you should talk to your boss. If I were him, I would see a doctor. I can see that he is ill, and I'm giving an advice here. He should see a doctor. He had better see a doctor here. It would be better if he found the right size jeans. His jeans aren't suitable for him right now, and I'm suggesting some improvements. I'm making a suggestion now. It would be better for him if he found the right size jeans. Okay, second conditional is used to give reasons why you can't do something. Sometimes you might need an explanation, right? Sometimes you might need some explanation for situations. And second conditional can really help you to do this. For example, if I had money, I would lend it to you. If I had money, I would lend it to you. Actually, I don't have any money, and I can't lend my money. I can't lend it to you because I don't have. In fact, I don't have to explain myself here too. I don't have money. I can't lend you money right now, but if I had money, I would lend it to you. This is a kind of explanation for me. I want to show you my kindness, maybe my good faith to you. Okay? There are a few things to consider here, guys. I have some extra tips to understand the second conditional or unreal conditional better, and to help you use it accurately. The first one is punctuation. You can change the order of the clauses. You can change the order of the clauses. I mean, you can begin with the situation and then result, or result and then situation. Okay? When this happens, it doesn't change the meaning. But in written English, there is an important punctuation change that you need to make. Let's see the examples. If it stopped raining, I would go for a walk. If it stopped raining, notice. If it stopped raining plus, I would go for a walk. I would go for a walk if it stopped raining. Now, the meaning in these two sentences is exactly the same, but notice, when main clause or result clause comes first, there is no comma. Okay? We don't include comma here, but we need comma if the if clause comes first. You should use comma if you see the if clause in the beginning of the sentence. Okay? So, an important contraction. There is an important contraction here. In spoken English or in informal written English, subject plus would is usually contracted. I mean, you say or write I'd instead of I would, you'd instead of you would, he'd instead of he would, she'd instead of she would, we'd instead of we would, and they'd instead of they would, because it is much easier to say the word. And another one is the verb to be. This is important. Second conditional, in fact, breaks some standard be verb rules. In simple past tense, we always use was with the pronouns I, he, she, and it. But in second conditional, we use was and were with the pronouns I, she, he, and it. Okay? We use both of them. Both of them are grammatically correct, but actually, in second conditional, we prefer were instead of was with those subjects, with those pronouns, okay? For example, if I were you, I will talk to him. If I were you, okay? If she were me, if he were me, okay? Another thing is pronunciation. I want to give this pronunciation tip here. In the word would, we must imagine that the L sound, the L sound is silent, okay? I mean, we should say would, okay? Now, I think my lesson is over here, and now we will make some practice to clarify the subject better. I have got some questions, some hypothetical questions for you here. If you had a special power, what would you be able to do? Where would you live if you could live anywhere in the world? What would you do if you had more free time? What would you do if you only had one day to live? I have added these questions in the description below. All you need to do is to copy them, paste them into your comment, and complete the sentences, okay? I'll be right down there checking your answers. If you need some help or support, you can write me via Instagram. If you enjoy this lesson, make sure that you give it a like, please, and subscribe to my channel so that you know when the next lesson is going to be ready for you, okay? I hope to see you all as soon as possible. Stay healthy and don't forget to answer these two questions, okay? See you guys.